Okay, we're live. Hi, everybody. It's Caroline Leavitt. This is a very special Monday interview. I never do Monday interviews. And the truth is, I probably wouldn't do it for anybody but our guest, Gina Barreca. We have a really special interview today. This is a picture of her book because I don't have a copy. It's GINA School. And I'm going to talk about it in a minute. But first, let me give you some housekeeping stuff, and then I'll give you Gina's introduction, and then we're going to let her take over. It's going to be a lot of laughter, so keep your water glass handy and stuff, because that's what we do when we get together. Okay, so everybody, Gina, you don't have to pay attention to this at all. You can hum or whatever. Everybody, there's a thing on the right for comments. If you have questions for Gina or comments, even just to say hi, Gina, or whatever, pop it on the right, and I will get to it. I have made it easy for you to buy GINA School by popping up a link for you at bookshop.org. But you can also go to your favorite indie bookstore and pick it up too. We're going to talk until 4, and then at 4, John Gillimet. Am I pronouncing his name right?
Gillimet, yeah.
Yep, Gillimet, the illustrator of this extraordinary book, is going to come on too, so it's going to be even more fun. So let me tell you about Gina. Okay, first and foremost, the main thing that you have to know about Gina is that I absolutely adore her. She's my friend. I can't spend even 5 minutes with her without dissolving into laughter. It's no coincidence that her full name is Dr. Gina Barreca, because she always has the right prescription for whatever ails you. She's the author of many, many books, including the best-selling. They used to call me Snow White, but I drifted. See, I told you I can't mention this without laughing. Babes in Boylan, a personal history of coeducation in the Ivy League. It's not that I'm bitter, or how I learned to stop wearing visible panty lines and conquered the world. She's on the Board of Trustees, Distinguished Professor of English Literature at the University of Connecticut. You've seen her, or you should have seen her, on PBS's American Masters. You've heard her on NPR's This American Life. And I'm sure you've delighted in her advice on The Today Show, CNN, the BBC, Entertainment Tonight, 48 Hours, and Oprah. Her work has been in the New York Times, the Chicago Tribune, Cosmopolitan, Forbes, Harvard Business Review, and Chicago Psychology Today, and she has a blog column there that has millions of avid readers. She's an expert on humor. She's delivered keynotes at more than 500 events, including ones held at the Smithsonian, the Irma Bombeck Writers Workshop, the National Writers Workshop, the Chicago Humanities Festival, Women in Federal Law Enforcement. Gina she can be found also in the Library of Congress or in the makeup aisle at Walgreens. Feel free to ask her about her concealer, which is something we're going to do. John Gillimet is coming at 4. He's a writer and artist who enjoys hikes, houseplants, and disparaging mankind. He reads monks and drunks. If a monk wrote it or a drunk wrote it, then he's probably read it. His satire has appeared in Little Old Lady Comedy, and his stories have appeared in The Wild Word, Book of Matches, and The Long River Review, where he received the Edwin Way Teal Award for nature writing. So, Gina, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here, and so happy to have you with your gorgeous book, GINA School. I absolutely love this book. This is the book that, seriously, and it's from Woodhull Press, and it's seriously, you need to get a copy of it. This is the kind of book you need to give to everybody, because as the book says, it's not what you're taught, it's what you've learned. The book is like a daily vitamin, which we all need, and there's actually a terrific origin story for this book about how GINA School came about, and I am dying to hear it. So, Gina, tell us.
Thank you for that. Just I want to carry you in my heart and sort of on my board of directors. But it's just great to be here, and it matters so much to me. So, GINA School was something, talk about carrying in your heart. I went to a wedding. And it's not one of those things I say lightly. I went to a wedding in Provence.
Okay.
girl from Brooklyn. I don't go, I live in Storrs, Connecticut. I live in the woods because I teach at the University of Connecticut, as you mentioned. But a friend of mine, also a girl from Brooklyn, but she lives part of the time in France. And she and her husband were having their 30th anniversary in Aix-en-Provence and invited friends from around the world. And she said it would be easier to get people to go to France than to get them, like if she had the party in New Jersey.
Right.
It would be easier to get people to, like, you live in New Jersey, like to get to France than like we're going to go to a nice place in Hoboken. It's hard to get people to take the France train. Is very easy.
Yes, it is.
To get people to use their points and to get on something. So we flew to France to celebrate their 30th anniversary, and so they prepared this amazing menu at a fine hotel restaurant, and it was outdoors, beautiful night, lights strung everywhere, candles on these tables, and they choreographed the wines to go with the different parts of the meal, and there was sparkling water for anybody who didn't want wine. But they thought of everything. So I'm sitting next to her adult daughter, who I've known forever, since before she was born. And then flanking me on the other side is the daughter's boyfriend. And at one point, the daughter's boyfriend, who was a smart kid, I'd met him before, lovely young man. And, but he said, I'm going to ask the server for a gin and tonic. And I was like, no, you're not. Because that server is going to have to go to a different part of the hotel to get you something that's not on the menu. And you're not going to do that. That's disruptive and it's impolite. And there were 30 people here and there were 5 people taking care of the table. And you can't do that. I said, have wine. He said, I'm not a wine guy. And I said, then have water. Water sitting with you. And his lovely girlfriend, now his wife, leaned over and said, can he go to GINA school?
I love it.
And I said, yes. And so that was, in a way, the joke. And they kept, as we'd seen them over the years and met, and actually she is a writer, a journalist, and astonishingly successful. And they would be like, all these things like, he really needs, or our friend needs to go to GINA school. And it became parts of things that friends would say, like GINA school, come on, this is, and it's just the little things in life. I realized that I'm 68 years old. I've been collecting advice for a long time and dealing with young people. So the other sort of thing that really made me want to set this down on paper, I'm in high school in the 70s and college in the 70s. And, every fashion, as you know, repeats itself if you wait long enough. So like 2 years ago, there's a girl in the stall next to me in the bathroom.
I was going to bring that up next. I love this. I love this story. Go ahead.
It's not like there's a faculty bathroom, God forbid. So I'm in the stall next to this girl. And she is wearing, as I remember wearing, overalls, right? And I don't know, in my day, it was like denim overalls and it was cute. We were all cute. You could wear a flower sack when you're 18 and you're fine. So, but she's got, I don't know, like Dolce & Gabbana or something, overall fancy overalls. And the thing about overalls is, again, they can be adorable, but, unless you're a guy, you cannot pee without taking the entire outfit. So this girl was pulling her clothes, I could see, at her feet on the filth floor of a public restroom. And I just want to say, honey, don't put your clean, fancy clothes on the dirty restroom floor. Pick your clothes up and pay attention. And so at various points in our lives, we have to remember to pick whatever it is.
That's right.
Pick up and pay attention. And a lot of GINA School is a version of those lessons. And they're lessons that I need to remind myself. And so that, because I have learned I don't know if you've gone through this, but I realize that years of therapy and, finding the right medication and all the rest of it, there are still things that I need to remind
That's
myself.
right.
Every lesson I have learned is a lesson I have learned before. And I thought, well, maybe if I write it down, and then we'll talk to soon, when John, who was a former student of mine, when I realized not only was he a terrific writer, but he was this astonishingly gifted artist, I said, would you consider making illustrations? Would you make images for this work? And he said, I will. And, again, neither of us had time. Nobody you want to work with ever has time to work with you, right?
That's right. But you make time. You make time.
Exactly, because that's the deal. So nobody has enough time, but the people who are smart and eager, and when you have responded as you do, when I've asked you do you think you could write for Fast Forbidden Women?
Oh yeah, it's heartbeat.
Fast Famous Women, you come up with something and you lead the pack. You are amazing. And so these were, I would give John the line and he would come up with an image.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, so we'll talk more about that when he's on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so I'll just give you an example and then let's go.
Yeah, can you show us one of the illustrations? Oh, great. Okay, here we go.
So you can see that the illustrations go over two pages, and so John, did the typography and the way that they're there in an astonishing way. So this is in pretty much the center of the book. This is 35, lesson 35.
And what is it? It says you can count on or you can't count on?
It says you cannot count on.
Okay.
You cannot count on the praise of others.
Right.
To keep you going. You cannot count on the praise of others to keep you going ever. You will almost never get it. And when you do get it, you won't get enough of it.
You won't believe it.
Do get it, it won't be the right kind. Also, it probably won't be the right person saying it, or it won't be about the right thing. It doesn't work that way. Learn to give yourself credit.
That's both comforting and inspiring and prescriptive at the same time, because that's something that we all really need to learn. And when it's presented in such a delightful way with, an illustration and there's humor, it's like this, it's not just the spoonful of sugar making the medicine go down. It's like the spoonful of sugar that's also spiked with hot rocks. I just wanted to mention one other thing, which is one of the other lessons that I loved was from you. It was teenage writing. And you were talking about, if I don't want it, I get to have it. But if I want it, I don't get to have it. And I thought, oh my God, it's kind of like you're unlocking a secret door in all of us where we realize, why am I still doing this? I'm a zillion years old and I'm still doing this, saying, well, I can't want it too much. And it's sort of like a gentle nudge, that book, saying like, you need to rethink things and act differently. And I love that. I just absolutely love that. I want to ask, sorry, go ahead.
No. I was going to say that it's an interesting one for you to choose because, Caroline, because that was one that almost didn't make it, because there are a couple of them that are, it is enormous. It's probably, I've written a lot.
Right.
That have very much to do with my own experience in life and draw. I write nonfiction. I can't make anything up. I would admire novelists like you more than anything. I put, you're on pedestals, you're on altars. I cannot invent, right? I was given gifts at birth, I guess. I am not graceful. I am not, there are many things I am not, but like, I'm not a perfectionist, which I know is hard to do it. There are things I'm not. But one thing that I realized that I was not given is the power to invent. But I can gather and I can remember. And that's what this book is. It's
That's incredible. Yeah, it's like, it just really touches you. It just really touches you.
so that one from my diaries in high school, I put in about like, if I want it, I can't have it.
If I have it, it's not good.
Right. That it is, again, the sense of, which is on another page, the sense of somehow always feeling, again, I talk about being in a conga line of alienated outsiders, that everybody I know feels like an alienated outsider. So we could just form a conga.
Yes, that's right. And that to me, that's one of the keys to life, that we're all outsiders. We're all broken in some way. We're all this and we're all that. And that's important to know. Why is this book called the 2025 Anti-AI book? And by the way, I really don't like AI.
AI is
it's a dangerous disaster.
It is dangerous. It is, I don't know. To me, AI would be the equivalent of giving an infant rum in its formula to put it to sleep or something. Like it prevents whatever development, especially for students or emerging writers.
Mm-hmm.
When they put something through AI, it takes out everything.
Right.
That would be their signature, their originality, their voice. I find it very unnerving for people who have yet, especially for people who have yet to discover what their voice sounds like on the page. That it eviscerates, that it guts out of it, it takes the blood out of it. But this is a book that could never have been made, through artificial intelligence. This came from two very flawed human beings. I mean, this was really my sitting down with a person who is, we are across generations. This is somebody more than 40 years younger than I am. This is a guy. This is a young man who likes to go outside. I mean, my husband keeps building the deck bigger, so I will go further into our yard. I don't go outdoors. To me, our family's idea was to go on the fire escape. I mean, on a fire escape.
Right.
That was, I realized that was camping. Did you ever spend the night outdoors? The fire escape and it was 110 degrees and there was no air going through the floor. Yeah, we got to go outside. But so this is everything about our backgrounds, obviously the cross generations. So the book had to speak. The lines that I was giving him had to speak to him. And there were times when, again, there were things I would negotiate. It's like, okay, this is something that I'm not making clear, and I need to make it clear to John. But then there were lines where I thought, no, I'm talking to my tribe, which are, people too old for work study and too young for that's really my tribe. And so that one of my lines, because I really do believe it's true, is that no one is older than Norma Desmond.
Right.
No one is older than Nora Desmond. And he's like, who the hell is Nora Desmond? So I said, okay, no, John, this is something that needs to be part of your cultural vocabulary. You have to watch Sunset Boulevard.
That's right.
You have to go back and see this. And then he came up with, I'll see if I can find it, the perfect, after watching it, he came up with the perfect image for Nora Desmond. And because I was like, I can't explain who Nora Desmond is without, it won't be the same if I have to explain it, because it just has to be that no one is older than Nora Desmond. And so here I will show. So
I love that. That's great.
It's the pear that is just overripe. No one is older than Nora Desmond, and it's perfect. And the way that first of all, the female shape of the pear is the deal, and then the use of the numbers and the way that it blocks sort of the body.
It's perfect.
And that's where that doesn't come out of, as in a way the line doesn't, it doesn't come out of logic, it doesn't come out of reason, it doesn't come out of some, literary or philosophical or esoteric knowledge. It's just like the truth.
Right.
No one has told us Desmond. And Norma Desmond is, I think, 50 in Sunset Boulevard. If I'm right.
Really? Wow. When you watch that movie, you think, oh, she's like 80
Or 110.
or 110. Right. That's right. So you and I have talked about this before with all the fast books about, why humor is really the most important thing we have when giving or receiving advice. It does something to our minds and to our bodies. Why did you how do you think this book would not be so fabulous if it was really totally serious, or if it was pointing fingers? Why is humor such an important ingredient to this book?
Thank you. That's a great question. And it really, there are parts that were hard to write. But I think that, that it is funny, and that it starts conversations about difficult subjects, which is what the best of humor has always done, if I dare to say something so immodest. But, humor shines spotlights on the parts of our lives that are usually kept in darkness because of shame,
right,
in shadows because people don't talk about that in polite conversation. You don't admit to feeling this way. You don't want to go into that territory because that's outside the boundary of where the fires are lit in the community. But again, that's where the interesting stuff is, and that's where a lot of us spend a lot of time. So that humor will give us, again, permission, if we give ourselves permission to address, discuss, and embrace those topics that are otherwise taboo. And that humor is taboo. It's the stuff that you can't do in a way on stage. It's off the proscenium arch. That's why kings had, wise kings had court jesters, where foolish politicians do not have a sense of humor, cannot because their pride is so inflated, and their power is in fact so precarious that they are afraid to be laughed off their pedestals. When, as a wonderful journalist from the late 1800s, a woman who is underserved to the current day, but was a great writer, named Agnes Repplier, said, only false gods can be laughed off their pedestals.
That's right.
That it is.
That's right. That's true. That's
without clothes who can be made fun of when everybody recognizes.
We have an audience question from, let me see if I can pop it up here. Show. Okay. Oh, this is from the fabulous Laura Rossi, who is one of the best public relations people in the business, as well as a fabulous human being.
And my former student. Do you know that? Laura?
No.
Laura was in one of the first classes I taught at the University of Connecticut. So how lucky was I?
How lucky both of you are. How can this book and humor help us now in 2025? It's a very hard time for many people. It's really a hard time.
Yeah, no, and it's a great question, and that was
a great question.
Laura's signature. We need to find ways to connect. We need to find ways to talk. And that humor is as close as you can get to another human being without touching them, without hugging them. And sometimes laughing together is actually a image of greater intimacy than the air kiss or the fake hug. When you laugh with someone, when you can actually connect with them through a moment of humor, humor leaps through the air like electricity, right? There's power to it that will instantaneously galvanize the air. When people are really laughing. And if for that moment, you and somebody, whether it's somebody you're close to or somebody you've never met before, but somebody that gets it where you make that eye contact, or you stop that eye contact and you throw your arms in the air and you go, that's that's just how I feel. And
Right.
it's how people feel when, in fact, they're reading novels like the ones that you write, novels that are emotionally compelling. How many people have written to you, Caroline, and said, this is exactly, you put on a page my life. You put on a page exactly how I felt but couldn't put into words,
Mhm.
right?
Well, that's what you said. It's all about being the feeling you're not the outsider. Everybody's the outsider.
Everybody feels that way, but you have to have, and some of us, again, are able to do that, to say out loud what other people who were, I don't know, were they even more traumatized than we were? Or they
That's not possible.
or they were just they were raised to be sort of, again, more publicly presentable. I mean, I was always, and there's a lot of stuff in the book about it. I mean, I was raised in a family that was always the hardest house I ever had to play to. No house. I have spoken in prisons, in men's prisons.
Wow.
They are easier. I mean, they're easier. They're ready to have anyway. But they, about humor and the way it can help you process experience. But it is the idea that in my family, and again, I can't make it up because I don't have the power to invent. But when Snow White, they used to call me Snow White, but I Drifted, became a national bestseller in Canada. It was on the Globe and Mail bestseller list for 28 weeks.
Wow.
And then
Great.
yeah, it was astonishing. I mean, really, I had no idea. And then that was long before things were coming up, over the internet. We had no idea how books were selling. And I remember the publicist at the time, was before Laura, but said you more than half a year on the Globe and Mail national bestseller list. And I called my father and I said, Dad, I'm on the bestseller list. And my father, who adored me, said, and I quote, and he said without hesitation, Gina, honey, they used to call me Snow White, but I Drifted. It has snow in the title. He said Canadians are very literal people. I thought, I told my girlfriends and they sent moon bouquets.
That's parents for you. That's parents for you.
And one of the stories that I tell that John did a great illustration for was, I remember as a very young kid, and we were a movie, we watched $1 Million movie.
$1 Million movie. I remember that.
They showed all these movies from the late 30s to the early 50s, black and white, and I remember imitating Betty Davis or whoever,
Right.
saying, I want to see my name up in lights. Uncle Bill said, change your name to Vacancy.
Oh, God.
And again, I think I was like 6, and
You didn't get it?
I had no idea what it meant, but I realized that Uncle Bill made everybody laugh. And that was one of the moments when I thought, okay, getting the last laugh, it's a way to make yourself heard, especially as a girl in,
Right.
I mean,
Right.
I mean, what family wasn't patriarchal, but I mean, maybe there were some, but not in my neighborhood, in this patriarchal family. And that it was, you snuck in a way to make somebody hear something, right? So that you can say in humor in one line what people won't listen to in a 3-hour argument. So when you ask, and Laura asks, how can this help us? There are, I mean, again, every page is a conversation opener.
That's right.
Every page will allow someone in a non-aggressive, non-baiting, authentic, because for me, they really are or have been the starts of real conversations. There's nothing here that makes anybody else to be an antagonist. And so to have people join in conversations that are about the lives that we share, and if we can laugh, have somebody laugh and tell us the truth about their lives, that has got to be
Right.
not only an analgesic, not only a painkiller, but actually something that can heal.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely right. I always tell younger people if they ever ask me about relationship advice, sense of humor is number one. Sense of humor. The next to that's kindness. Maybe kindness is one, but sense of humor is right up there. I want to know how you went about writing this book. I mean, did you just sort of like write down things? How did you order it?
I'm not sure. I was just giving a talk the other day about sort of how I write, and I have, I don't know, 1,000 of these notebooks. I mean, they are not notebooks. I mean, they're legal pads. And so I write down every single, I do not have an unexpressed thought. I mean, and some of them are just, they're lists of words. Some are full sentences. Some are quotations from other people. Some literally are single words. They are everything. And then I will go back and read them. And but usually when I'm looking for something else, the best ones I then type in. So I have notebook sort of,
Wow.
again, hundreds of pages, or thousands of pages that are, again, single lines, random phrases. So this one, again, I'm just picking out, says, indigestible emotions keep coming back like acid reflux.
That's right.
That's not bad. I mean,
that's very good. That's very good.
When I first started taking Nexium. Hello.
We have John Yeoman here. I'm so happy to have you here. You missed your introduction at the beginning, but I would be really amiss if I didn't ask you, what is it about monks and what is it about drunks that entices you so much? And then we'll talk about your illustrations.
Oh, that's such a good question. I don't know. Both speak to like, I guess maybe I find it like the same archetype. Like you're existentially concerned and you're like, should I go to the temple or to the bottle? But there's the common thread is a certain distress, and yeah, I feel like I read in between them, where I'll read some drunkish texts for a little while. I'll read Benedict Eraviev's, Moscow till the end of the line, and then I'm like, oh, I need some pemmican to bring me, back to a hopeful space, But I guess I don't know. There's also like it opens up an opportunity for humor. I feel like
right.
One of the ways we create emphasis is through contrast.
That's right.
So that's one aspect, and another aspect is like not wanting to pigeonhole myself. I've had a couple of different chapters of artistry, and one of the dangers of doing something well is if someone's like, that looks great, you should do more stuff like that. And on one hand, that's nice. It's like, thank you, maybe I will. But if it's your artistic journey is meant to venture into unknown space, the encouragement to stay where you've been and to perfect what you've been perfecting could kind of be a hindrance. So I thought, kind of as I reemerged after maybe some artistic solitary metamorphizing time, I thought, what's a really big spectrum, that everything in some way, shape, or form will fall into. And I was like, well, the spectrum between monks and drunks, I suppose.
I love it. And it rhymes too. So I would like both you and Gina to talk about how did you work together? Which came first, the words or the drawing? And did you submit ideas to Gina, or did you just know what was the right thing? Also, you have a wonderful comment from Laura Rossi that says, John, a wonderful, witty, wise, talented surprise guest, which is very nice.
That's always good.
Okay, so how did you guys work together?
John originally started out as a student John, actually, you tell the story.
Yeah, I did start out as a student in one of Gina's classes. I also, Gina, you were the last office hours I visited before I dropped out, and the first office hours I visited after I re-enrolled. So I have a Bachelor in General Studies degree. It's a very meandering path. It's a little eclectic. It's abbreviated as BGS, Bachelor of General Studies, but it might as well stand for Bachelor of GINA School, if we're being honest. It's like a little, yeah, a synchronicity, in the acronym for sure. Like, I needed some kind of guidance and motivation, and a couple things that honestly the university environment couldn't quite provide me with, and I left school in a really confused state. But I did leave with a little handful of books that Gina left me from her personal library. She lent these books to me, and that was a really kind gesture. And I had kind of walked into Gina's office, with a bit of a, an arrogant young artist attitude. And Gina informed me really benevolently and generously how much work and revision and, creativity.
Yeah.
It's not like this bolt of inspiration. It might start there,
Right.
but you got to toil to polish that gemstone. And that was like a hard pill to swallow. It was a difficult thing to hear. I wanted the first draft to be perfect. As
when does that happen?
It never happens. But especially maybe for the beginner, that's kind of the hope is to. There's also maybe a bit of a existential pressure emanating from the traditional path of these stifling work environments that don't often feed the adult spirit very well. And that can be just a terrifying thing. Of course, you want to write the next screenplay that propels you out of that fate, So I walked in with a lot of that tension, and I couldn't coordinate my ambition, and I couldn't. I think I was lacking some self-discipline and maturity as how I, approached these obstacles. So I did drop out, and then I worked as a cleaner in a hospital over the course of the pandemic, and I worked a lot of menial labor jobs that gave me an opportunity to really slow down. And of course, there's also the practical aspect where you clean 3,000 toilets in a hospital, and you're like, I should go back to school. So when I re-enrolled, I think I was wizened by some life experiences, and I was writing as like a practice that I still didn't yet know if my stuff was worth reading, but I certainly knew it was worth writing, and had a lot of benefit of enriching my life. And it was a totally different attitude to reapproach Gina with, and finally her good advice was sticking instead of bouncing off and flying in all these directions. And it was such a privilege to take Gina's writing workshop in the very last semester of my really delayed senior year on this meandering path. And and it was always be something I'll be grateful for, but that's how our relationship began.
And so when you were presenting Gina with drawings, did you present her with an array of them, or just one, or did you talk about the idea that you thought it should be? What was the conversations like?
I commissioned John to illustrate this because I had all of these stories and these very small pieces that I wanted to write, and I knew it couldn't. I always ask my writing students or the workshops that I give for emerging writers of whatever age, it's like, what shape is this going to be? What shape are you
Right.
Because we need to know how we're going to hold it.
Yeah.
Taking some big amorphous thing that we need like a van to help us with and lifts, or are we carrying this like we're carrying a pullet's egg from one city to another where we have to not move very much to make sure, what is it going to be? How are we going to grasp this? And I had no way of thinking how these fragments would emerge in a coherent form. And then I thought, they need art. They need another
layer.
Another dimension, really. And I discovered John's art, like seeing his notebooks. Like, I think we met for coffee or for Chinese food after we graduated. And I saw that he was carrying these, I showed you my legal pads with all of the
Right. Oh my God, look at those.
You kept them.
Can you open them up so we can see them, John?
Yeah, let's see. Like, here's one. So it's sometimes like just collage material.
Wow.
Find
That's
abstract,
great.
little.
And I saw these, and I
Incredible.
thought, listen, okay.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
have an
Wow.
idea for the book because I knew that John was a good writer, but I didn't know this other stuff. And I saw that, and again, you know, when you hear the hallelujah chorus in your head, and, it's like, and I'm trying not to seem sort of like yeah, and like I have an idea. Would you consider illustrating or doing art, providing images for this book that I'm working on? And John, again, being too busy, he's in graduate school. He's working hard on other projects. He's like working and teaching and doing this. So I said, John says, like, he has no time, but I'm working time. I'm doing everything. Caroline, you're doing you're like dealing with
I
everything.
have no time. I have no time. But I make time. You make time.
Yeah.
Time is really, when people say time is like money, we've all heard that. But I think of it as like time is like money in that you will never find it.
Right. That's right.
You really have to
Yeah.
make, and
You have
unlike
to make
that,
it.
you don't even inherit it. Like you really have to make it because
That's right.
everybody gets the same 24 hours.
That's
and
right.
Always right. Like, how can you do this? It's like
You do it.
I don't play a sport. You know, I don't know. It's like, again, I don't go outside. You make choice, but I make every one of my own meals. I don't, you make choices. So when I saw what John could bring, and I thought this was like realizing it was like John could take the flat piece of paper with the words on it and make it into an origami suite. He could he could fashion it into something else. But it was not always easy because I told the Norma Desmond story.
Yeah.
So that,
Yeah.
that I wasn't in the Nora Desmond line, but John fashioned these astonishing drawings. And out of John, how many were there that I forced you to go back and redo?
Oh.
Yeah, there's like 44 and completely inked illustrations that didn't make the cut for good reason, and one of those things too is like I don't know, the attitude that they're like, wasted illustrations does not register for me because they started the conversation and informed the illustrations that took their place. So even though they're invisible or they're in my flat files and they're not in the book, they're very much the invisible foundation of a lot of the illustrations in the book.
It's like drafts of writing that don't get to the final thing.
Exactly.
And sometimes you don't know it, but you still are able to learn from it. So when you were working together, did you have the whole book done first, Gina, and then you gave it to John, or did you give him stuff piecemeal?
I think both. I think that there was a sort of a start, and then we go back and talk about it again. And certainly things were not in order. The order of the lines was, I as a young person, and it may be part of being a young person, I wrote poetry, and I remember spending a lot of time looking at the lines, the actual form of the lines. And this was as close as going back to doing that as I had in 45 years. And but deciding what sort of chemical, formula that the lines had to be in. And then that would change, the order of things would change based on John's art, how that would work. And there were times when John actually convinced me that he made me braver.
How? Tell us. That's a great question. That's a great thing.
Really did, because there were parts, especially about when it came to humor, where I've looked, when you look at something too often, Caroline, have you gone back to certain passages or certain ideas where you feel like I'm beating this to death? Like,
and you don't know how to get out of it.
Right. You have to leave it alone, or like, I don't think I can't do this anymore. I can no longer see clearly what I'm trying to do, and that I'm not daring about it. So there's one page. I'll read it first, and then I'll show you.
Go ahead.
Humor. So my academic life, my academic books, my scholarly work is on humor, right? So I got all of this, like the professorial part, like on the glove on this hand, has the eyeglasses. I mean, I got the eyeglasses. But, it's that. So I'm writing about humor and da-da. So this passage was humor, which I happen to believe every single line of this book. I really believe this.
That's great. Okay.
It's humor is a show both of strength and vulnerability.
Yes.
You are willing to make the first move, but you are trusting in the response of your listener. Right? So it's straight. I mean, you have to have authority. You're holding the mic, basically, whether or not you're actually holding the mic. You're taking the floor. So you need to have that, but yet you're cutting your own throat. You're hoping that somebody else is going to get it. So I'm like, okay, this is about bravery and strength and daring. And John came up with an image that I thought, it's too daring. It's too daring for me. This scares me. Actually, many images from John that scared me.
I'm good at that.
Because he's too smart. He got to the heart of what I was doing, and I'm like, that's too right. That's too right. But this one, he persuaded me, and also with the help of my husband, because Michael doesn't pay a lot of attention to what I do. But John and his friend Noel came over one night, and we looked through all of these with Michael, and Michael actually paid attention. And so this is humor is both a show of strength and vulnerability. You're willing to make the first move, but you're trusting in the response of your listener. And
that's great. That's perfect.
Great.
The placement is perfect.
It's
the placement is perfect. Yeah.
And everything about it is right. But when I saw the first version of this, I was like,
because we're a gun culture.
I was like, I the bang.
Yeah.
And they was like, Michael's like, it's perfect. And
it is perfect. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And it's authentic. It's authentic. It's kind of, I want to say, like, one other thing that they always say, that the definition of bravery is you're still scared out of your mind, but you do it anyway. You do it anyway. And that's bravery. It doesn't mean that once you do it, that you're brave. Yeah. It just means that, well, now you can go on to the next hurdle.
That you face
whatever.
It. Yeah. That you absolutely faced it. And so that a lot of our back and forth moments with that are wonderful.
Yeah.
And John, as, again, a very young person, still paid respect and attention to, I believe, the people who are going to be primary, although I hope not the only readers of the book, so that a line, that most of these started out as like, I could do 500 or 50-page essays on them, but I wanted to get them down to one line. So this one is, your favorite song might be one you haven't heard yet.
That's right. That's you know what, that elicits emotion. As soon as look at that. That's great. Right. And it's a tape. It's a tape.
I think what John is wearing is a boombox. Is that right?
Is that a boombox? I thought it was a tape.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going analog.
That's great. Yeah. That's great. That's great.
But it was so, because again, it's right. You said it elicits emotion. I like to think.
Yeah.
There's a lot about hope. There's stuff about reconciliation. There's stuff about redemption. Because I believe that humor, especially, does all of those things. Humor allows you to get your deposit back on the terrible things that have happened to you in life. Because once you can make a story out of them,
right?
If you can make a funny story out of it, you redeem them. You get your deposit back. You get your money back for this. It's like, this happened, but now it's mine. You are not the object of the story. You are the teller of the story. You are the narrator of it, right? And so this is like,
I love that.
Yeah, but this is like going back to you don't have to keep playing the same cassette from 1983 that had the first Pat Benatar song you heard.
Oh God. I love the way the numbers go over both pages and how it just kind of bleeds over. It's perfect. It's just absolutely perfect. I want to ask both of you, because you have one thing that said brave and scared walk arm in arm.
Yes.
So I want to ask, which I think is true. That's my natural way of getting through the day. So I want to ask each of you, what are you scared about and what are you brave about right now? Let's start with Gina.
Oh, okay. I am scared that I'm scared this book, which I love so much, won't find its home in the hearts of readers. And so
I think it will.
I need to make sure that it does. So that is my authentic answer from my little frightened heart right now. But no, I mean, I think that I have felt that about every book I've ever done.
Right. And also you have no control over that.
Right, exactly. That's it.
No control over it.
Is to write it, to again, to trust an audience, to be able to see the parts that are what this non-AI book is, to see
right
as the parts that they'll look at and go, and so far the response really has been enormously comforting, and I'm daunted by frankly, I'm daunted by the idea of what is going to happen to writing over the next 20 years with the advent of AI, with the advent of this push towards a lack of diversity in everything. I mean,
everything. Movies too.
Right, with movies, with the actress that they're now trying to
Tilly. I forget what her last name is, but it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
It's making everything generic, and it is to make the unreal the ideal. And you can say that the ideal is never real, but now it's to just make the ordinary the not real.
Right. That's right. And it's like what's exceptional about the arts is when you stun people, when you expose something new or something. Yeah, I get really, really worried. But I think I told you, Gina, that I had to fight Amazon because some idiot put up it said biography of Caroline Leavitt. It was not my photograph. It was a photograph my husband took with somebody else's face on it. And I got to read the first page, and it was obviously AI, baloney. And my husband wrote to them and said, "Look, this is my photo, and I'm a photographer, and it's copywritten. You better take it down." So it took them 2 weeks, and they took it down. But that same guy, AI guy, on the same day had published 10 other biographies of other people, and they were all AI. And the thing is, if you don't know to look for it.
Exactly. But this is what we're going to spend up all of our time, looking for, is there this other version?
Right. And usually there is. Oh, there's a great question from Laura here. Let me show it. I can never figure out how to do this. Okay, I'm going to read it. John and Gina, what did each of you learn from each other? Answer framed by Gina School for John. Oh, and John School for Gina, please. One lesson each. What a great question, Laura.
I want to go back. Laura's question is great, but I want to go back to knowing what John is afraid of.
Oh, well, it's great because...
Oh, right. I'm sorry. I forgot. I completely forgot. Go ahead.
Oh, it's all good because my answer actually answers that and Laura's question too.
Oh, good. Okay.
To confront a fear in it is there's something I noticed in writing workshops, because I've been in a lot at this point and stuff like that. Sometimes there's a need for a trigger warning before an essay. Sometimes there's a need for a disclaimer before a story. Sometimes you're writing, someone submits chapter 10 and they have to really quickly summarize, previous 10, so you're all caught up. And you can end up with a situation where the pretext disclaimer, trigger warnings, and background info is like longer than the story, so the version of that with drawing is when I would get a line from Gina that I just frankly didn't know how to illustrate. I didn't know, but she illustrated it anyway. And then, but furthermore, to send it back with no disclaimer. Of course, I wanted to sit there writing about how it wasn't perfect, and I needed help with
That's
this
so
part.
interesting.
But
Yeah.
just to send it naked, and it goes out there, and it doesn't work, and you're just waiting for the "this doesn't work" response, and it comes, but with information, and you don't want to. The more you pad and add justification around your submission in writing or in drawing, the more you influence your feedback.
That's right. That's really interesting. That's definitely a lesson. That's right.
So what I learned in this was just to send bad illustrations, stuff that I knew wouldn't work, because the only way to get to where it would work would be to send something out imperfect and to give it no protection, no bulletproof vest, nothing, and just kick it out the door.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. I love
answer
it.
your question about what am I fearful of? This is a project. I'm excited to move on to other projects, and I'm excited to revisit this project. But basically, this is this is what I do, and that's the fear that comes back with every
Yeah.
is when you're spitballing, and how to offer that really no protection, because that's how you're going to get the honest feedback and response. That's how it works.
I love it. I love it. And Gina, what have you learned from John's school?
I think that what I learned was that you have to be honest with each other when you're working again, in a real collaboration.
Right.
Which is what I wasn't sure how this would work. I've never worked with a student this way. I mean, I like to really hand over my basket of stuff and say, now you make something.
Right.
You do this. I will pay you what I can, which was nothing compared to what John earned. And but again, I'm doing my best. But it really is just but I have to trust you to do this, and then to hand over what seemed again like I'm handing over this thing and I want to look away, and then to get back work that amazed me. And I to understand the bounty that came from this, and the work did get better and better. But that was because we learned it's like choreographing a dance. It was learning how to move. And that, for example, John's artwork for the pieces at the beginning was was tended to be towards the representational. And by the end, he was finding, as people will see in the book, these objects that, as John, as you put it, that if it was a caption contest, that you would never, or a matching quiz, that you wouldn't put the object as the illustration of the thought or the idea of the piece of advice, but it's perfect. But that's because John came in at the prose, at the text from a completely different perspective, that it was like seeing something illuminated by fireworks, as opposed to just seeing it under a flashlight or one of those, the LED bulb. This was like seeing something in lit as I couldn't have imagined it, and so seeing it differently. So I found new meaning. Not that I didn't intend it, but I didn't know that I intended, and that he made me realize that that was what was actually going on. So as a collaborative process, this was absolutely remarkable and made me believe in collaboration.
Collaboration is great. I want to say what I learned from John and Gina School was, because this book really got to me in ways that I didn't expect it to. Because, it's like a little book, and I was telling Gina, I'm buying up copies to give to my friends. It said something really meaningful to me about being authentic and daring to be authentic, while recognizing that, yes, you have this thing that's not so good, but put it out in the air and then it'll be fine. And to me, it was all about being real. And I just thought it was just a superb collaboration. So I want to ask, because I want more, which is always my litmus test, are you going to have like a GINA school for, say, new parents, GINA school for people in the workforce, GINA school for, there's, the possibilities are endless, but I think it's necessary. I really do. I want you to do it.
Thank you. And we could make use of those earlier illustrations.
Yeah.
To the illustrations that were taken out. But yes, I mean, Gina and John School for dog walkers.
Yes, for pet owners, for
dental hygienists. I mean, I really like doing this. This was the most fun I've had, because it was all new parts of my imagination that were being engaged by dealing with the art, by dealing with whatever. And again, I hope, Caroline, that other people, and especially from hearing your devoted listeners and people who follow your work, that they will have the same impression of GINA School, and that they will
we all have it great.
And that it's fun, it's lively, and then again, you want something to start a conversation, this is the book that'll do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got another one.
Yes. Well, I want to say that, as I say, you walk into your favorite indie. I've got the link right up there, bookshop.org, if you can't find it. Very easy to find. This actually is coming out at the right time, because this is like the perfect holiday book gift. This is a book that everyone will love. I guarantee you. It's got something for everybody in it. It felt like a really important book for me. And the wonderful thing about the Blaze is I always get to put on the books that matter the most to me. And this one did. So I want to thank everybody who came here. Thank you so much for your comments. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, this particular interview it's recorded, so it's going to be on a Mighty Blaze YouTube channel forever. It's the gift that keeps on giving. So I want Gina and John to just stay on, and I'm going to say goodbye to everybody else with huge thanks. And again, to tell you, you need this book, especially now. It's going to make you feel better. It'll change your life. So goodbye, everybody. And Gina and John, just stay on for a second.